how long are we going to wait for our politicians to do something about this?
Yeah.
And I mean, really do something about it. Just not blow smoke up our asses like they constantly do. You know, when is somebody actually going to do something here? I'm Flindt Andersen, founder of PAIN, Parents and Addicts in Need. I've been in recovery since 2001, and there isn't much I don't know about recovery. And my mission is to constantly tell the truth about addiction, to make the realities of addiction, recovery, and drug culture known, and to drive awareness and advocate change that ultimately saves lives.
And I'm Jason LaChance, a certified recovery coach with a passion for speaking with others and sharing their knowledge to help others seek recovery and maintain long-term sobriety. And this is the Don't Hide the Scars podcast, presented by PAIN, Parents and Addicts in Need. This is the Don't Hide the Scars podcast, presented by PAIN, Parents and Addicts in Need, and I'm here with the founder, Flindt Andersen. Good day, sir.
Good day, Jason.
Do you find it amusing that at one point in our history, the biggest insult you could give someone is, I said good day, sir. You know, times have changed.
Times have changed.
I'm Jason LaChance, and man, this hit the news, reported by Fox, and you know me, I always like some good statistics, and you know, they provided a map, which flashing up on the screen now for those that are watching on YouTube. This is a map of the most powerful and ruthless cartels, and they are operating in all 50 states, according to DEA, in a report released early this month.
All 50?
All 50.
Yeah. I'm just amazed that, well, not amazed. I just wonder really how long they have been operating in all 50 states. You know,
good point.
Because this, or are we just now deciding to put this information out there?
Right.
I don't know. It seems to me that they've been operating in all 50 states. Maybe not to the degree that they have the number of quote employees.
Yeah.
You know, that they used to have. I mean, there was probably very few in the old days, but they're still in every state.
Well, and I think a lot of this coming out, I mean, one of the facts here is there were nearly 38,000 fentanyl-related deaths in the first 6 months of this year alone, according to DEA. And I think this is a thing now where it's like, you know, we'll talk the public safety side of this, and it's like, oh shit, our come here, we're a sanctuary place, wasn't totally thought out too well.
No, it wasn't.
And so it allowed not only a flood, because even though these cartels, of course, operating in Mexico, primarily the two that they're pointing out as Jalisco and Sinaloa, that they flooded all the major U.S. cities, meth and fentanyl. But the thing is, people go, oh, it's, okay, so it's just Mexican people. No. We're seeing a lot of data of Chinese people coming in through as well.
Yes.
And which makes me think, oh, yes, some of it's being made over the border, but in Mexico, obviously, the precursor chemicals coming from China into Mexico produced then coming over the border. But it makes me think, if I was the boss man, I'd say, hey, China company providing me with the chemicals, send me over one of your people that know how to make these batches, and then we're going to go up through, and then now we're just going to send some precursor chemicals. I
have no doubt that is what is happening. Because it comes down to convenience, I think, for the drug dealers. You know, look, we've got areas in this country, especially with methamphetamine, and we happen to be living in one of those areas, right, where we've got lots of open spaces. We've got lots of land that is just, you know, it's not inhabited by anybody. Montana, Colorado, Oklahoma, you know, all these places. Those are like the meth capitals of the world. So I'm sure we have had people here making press pills and putting together fentanyl in pills and whatever else they are for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, they have to have those places here. It's just not every pill's made in Mexico and coming over the border. A great deal of it is, but for convenience and speed and efficiency. I'm sure they're doing it here as well.
Yeah. Well, and if you look at the map of once again, I'll flash it on the screen here for those watching on YouTube. I mean, the heavy states, California, Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, Texas, Illinois, Georgia, Florida, North Carolina, and New York, and Maine. Mm-hmm. These are the
Georgia.
Georgia. These are the heavy infiltration of cartel. Then everywhere else is pretty much it's going on. Oregon, Washington, right. Some of these other gray states, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and so on, and then
Alaska.
Then maybe a bit of a downgrade, and then there's only a very few that it's not. Well, I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 states where there isn't any heavy inundation.
Right.
It just classifies it as less.
Right.
And I'm guessing that's a population factor.
Sure. It's got to be.
Like you said, some of these
it's
more plain states.
Right.
And.
But, you mentioned the 38,000 in the first part of the year, first half of the year. I'm just going to say it. Those aren't all accidental poisonings.
Right.
I'm sorry. They're not. So again, we keep bringing up the fact that all these deaths now, pretty much everybody is aware of fentanyl. Mm-hmm. Again, repeating ourselves as we often do here. The cocaine issue is probably the issue the most that people are dying from overdoses of fentanyl because 60% of cocaine is now laced with it.
Yeah, so those are the poisoning instances.
Those are the poisoning incidences, yes.
I think the easiest way to put it, we had it with our last episode, Paula Young, amazing lady, when she asked you is, what's the difference between an overdose and a poisoning? It's like, I guess the intent. A fentanyl user, they die. Sadly, it's an overdose. That was their thing.
Right.
A person who thinks they're just getting drug X with no foresight, I don't know what else to say, not using the logic or the knowledge that is out there, that it's in that drug and it kills them, i.e. cocaine or whatever else. That's the poisoning situation.
Right.
But those are so less and less and less.
They're becoming less and less. Absolutely they are. And remember, she said that she didn't know. She literally believed that this was not an addict problem.
Sure. And,
of course, we politely disagreed with her on that one and explained to her the fact that, yes, this is a addict problem. This is, when you're a fentanyl addict, you have to have fentanyl. Mm. And we will go to the line. We will go over the line if we have to, if it's going to take away our withdrawal symptoms. And of course, there's many other reasons for it. But and she was very grateful, too, by the way, that we explained that to her. And that's why we keep saying here, you've got to know the truth about this. You've got to know all aspects of it. Even at our parent meeting last night, I kind of went off on this a little bit with the parents because I just believe that the majority of the advocates out there, who, by the way, we want them, we want their help, but they're not even getting the whole truth out. Mm-hmm. Here's Paula, who's a wonderful lady, who lost her son. And I do believe this was truly an accident because that fentanyl was sprayed on a marijuana cigarette. And so, again, taking away the fact that I thought that you couldn't put it on a marijuana cigarette because once you lit it, right, then the fentanyl evaporates, for the lack of a better term. Mm. But it didn't because he had put it in his mouth. The entire cigarette was laced with it. So he did light it, but he still had half a joint left when he died because it covered the whole thing. So when you put it in your mouth, it's going to get in the system.
New Perceptions North, the premier drug and alcohol treatment and recovery center in Central California. A full continuum of medically supervised top quality care with programs for detox and patient residential treatment with dual diagnosis, intensive outpatient treatment, sober living support groups, and more. New Perceptions North provides adult men and women with the highest caliber of professional health care, treating each client with compassion and respect in a safe, comfortable environment to begin the process of recovery to proudly create and sustain a life without addiction. Call 559-978-1507 or visit newperceptionsnorth.com. So then that begs the question. I meant to bring this up, but you and Paula were having a very important exchange. So then fentanyl, pretty much, people have asked me about the ways to use it. And I always said, as far as I know, you can ingest it, snort it, inject it, and smoke it. So you can't smoke it, so it burns off then. So smoking it is not something, or is it where it's the contained smoke within something, almost like you would do crack, where you heat it?
You can do that.
Okay.
You can do that. And it can be in a vape pen.
Okay.
So yes, you can smoke it, absolutely.
Okay, I just want to make sure I was right, because I didn't want to tell people and be like, I'm wrong here, because that's it's sad. I mean, it's inundated our country, and the information's here. The link is in the podcast description for this story, for you to get it. I mean, there was a story last week of the Skittle Man, whose real name is Mr. Bustamante. I use Mr. really lightly. Is one of 7 Sinaloa cartel members arrested in Florida, and they were doing some of the rainbow fentanyl. That's how he got the name, Skittles Man.
Right.
Getting this stuff out there. The notorious nickname was created because he allegedly sold large supplies of rainbow-colored fentanyl pills.
Right.
And it's insane. This is continues.
It's totally insane. I think I even said it in the last podcast. Why are we so afraid to go into the president of Mexico and say, look, I mean, just be a hard ass about it. Okay, enough of this politicking. Go in there and say, look, you're going to allow us in here. Okay, our first option is to work with you. And work with the Mexican government on trying to end it.
Yeah.
We know we're not going to end all of it, but we need your help. Now, Mr. President, you only have one response to this, and that response is, okay, let's work together. Because again, Mr. President of Mexico, if you're not going to or don't want to work with us in this, then we're coming anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I don't.
I mean, look, that's my take on it. I'm sorry. Sure. Okay. We are definitely in a war here, and there's nothing slowing down about this problem. None whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's only increasing. And by the way, these drug dealers, they don't give a damn, okay, if they're sentenced to 4.5 years in an American prison.
No.
That's a cakewalk to them.
No.
They all almost expect it at some point.
Yeah. Well, and especially depending on what state. I read today even that with the budget woes of California, Newsom is one of the cuts that he's looking to do is downsize the number of cells in California prisons.
Is there is there anything this guy says that will give us any reason to like him whatsoever?
The logic isn't there, man. But yeah, I mean, what are you going to do if that was the cost of doing business? What states am I going to set up in?
Right.
I mean, Texas has just got to be because of the border fact of how much border there is to get in and through. But their penalties are far more harsh.
Absolutely, they are. Texas isn't messing around with this stuff.
Yeah.
But again, as a country, we don't have many choices left. We really don't. And Paula said it, and every guest we've had on here says it. How long are we going to wait for our politicians to do something about this?
Yeah.
And I mean, really do something about it. Just not blow smoke up our asses like they constantly do. When is somebody actually going to do something here?
Yeah, they need to get beyond themselves. There's, I know you've seen it, so much stupid, 2 female representatives, and this is supposed to be the concern of the citizens and all they're doing is coming at each other. It's like, are you ridiculous? You people don't even know why you hate each other.
Right.
You can't even come together.
Right.
I'm going to tell you, I'm a huge Formula One fan. You know this.
Right.
So there is both sides of the aisle. They have petitioned the ownership, Liberty Media, of Formula One of, hey, why aren't you letting Andretti Motorsports in? I'm a Mario Andretti fan. I'm a Michael Andretti fan. I want to see him on a Formula One grid. But you're telling me you sons of bitches can agree on that? But you can't come together on the death of all of our fellow citizens, especially our kids.
I know.
But you can come together and, hey, I'm all for it.
Right.
I want to see Andretti Motorsports running at Monaco next year at this time. But are you serious? Like, oh, we can get together on that.
Right. I know, Jason, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's absolutely ridiculous. I just don't believe any of them anymore.
No.
I don't believe them. It's just ridiculous. I'm almost out of words. I'm almost out of responses to this problem. And I don't understand why the rest of the country just isn't up in arms about this.
Yeah.
It really, I'm sorry, it upsets me, that we're living in a society that, here we have a national epidemic that's hitting us right in the teeth. And you don't hear even daily discussion on it anymore. I mean, I really okay, this is going to be kind of off kilter a little bit here, but I do respect our news media here in Fresno.
Yeah.
I do. I respect our television stations, our radio stations. They have us on. We talk about it. They've been partners with us in a lot of things, and just not us, other organizations as well. But on a national level, you just don't see it on the evening news. You don't see it in mainstream newspapers and magazines anymore. When something like this ought to have some blip at least every night about it. I just don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, that's why, why I wanted to get this out. We had already put it on social media as of the release of this podcast last week. This story that Fox News did, and it wasn't because, oh my gosh, I'm following Fox News. I was in amazement that any national outlet put anything out about this.
Right.
That was the one that happened to do it.
Right.
Okay, it's like I don't care one way or the other. But yeah, media's did a horrible job, and they've lost. The vast majority of the outlets have lost any credibility for the vast majority of us anyways.
Absolutely they have. Absolutely they have. I mean, as much as this country is behind the marijuana movement, now not everybody, right? But there's a lot of people that are, and it's okay. And if you want to, if somebody wants to smoke it for medical reasons, go for it, or gummy, whatever it is. And now we know that fentanyl is being laced on it. Why aren't more people even listening to that?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I mean, when I bring up something in a parent meeting about marijuana and fentanyl, even in those parent meetings, there's a little bit of I kind of don't believe that. You know? And of course, then there are a lot of responses, well, if you get it at a dispensary, then you don't have to worry about it. Really? What if somebody's buying it at the dispensary and then lacing it afterwards?
Yeah, that's what happened to Paula's son.
And that was and by the way, for the listeners, she has medical proof that this is what happened to her son.
Yeah, fentanyl and xylazine in his system.
Off of a marijuana cigarette.
Yep.
She has the proof.
Yep.
So people, you know, for the ones that go, no, that can't happen. Yes, it can.
Yeah.
Yes, it can.
Does.
And it does on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Look, when you've got like you call Mr. Bustamante, all right, the drug dealer from the Sinaloa cartel. You don't think these guys are developing ways to put it on other things? Whether it's another drug, I'm waiting for it to be on a food product somewhere someday.
Sure.
I mean, think about how, now maybe I'm a little off the rails on this one, but think about how many food products we bring in from Mexico.
Sure.
It's by the truckloads and boatloads that we bring in all different types of products, from fresh produce to bagged items to frozen foods. Now, frozen, you're not going to be able to do it. Okay, you know what I'm saying? But the amount of product that we bring in from Mexico is enormous.
Yeah.
In fact, if you think about it, as much produce as we have here in California, as much produce as we have in Florida, you don't think we're receiving produce in from Mexico, from other cities in South America all day long?
Yeah.
By the way, we're bringing in food products from China. We're just not exporting them. We're importing them as well.
Mm-hmm.
See, I'm almost at the point like the Chinese, where I'm trying to look 20 years ahead, 50 years ahead, even though I'm not going to be here. I don't want to be here 50 years. Let's see, maybe 120. Yeah, no, that ain't going to happen, right? But that's how they think.
Yeah.
That's their plan. They work in 100-year increments, and we have to start thinking like that.
Yeah.
Because we're just going to wind up in the same mess over and over and over again. We don't learn from our mistakes. China has learned from their mistakes. They've learned from the things that have happened to them over the past 250 years.
Mm-hmm.
We don't seem to learn from anything.
No.
And the opioid epidemic is a perfect example of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a lot worse things coming. Or what happens, and I know this is a little off the rails too, but what happens sometime if they actually figure out a way how to put it in a water supply?
Sure. Yeah.
They don't even have to pull the trigger on a gun.
Yeah.
They don't have to drop a bomb. They don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's a little crazy thinking, but I know there are people in law enforcement that are thinking that way.
If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, please call PAIN, Parents and Addicts in Need, at 559-579-1551, or visit us online at painnonprofit.org. Follow us on social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Pain Nonprofit. And please subscribe to the Don't Hide the Scars podcast and share with others wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. And if you would like to donate to PAIN, Parents and Addicts in Need, please click the link in the description to make your tax-deductible donation today and help us save more lives gripped by addiction. I mean, we've gotten to a point where we're so damn divided anyways. You know, we all stayed in our domicile and didn't go anywhere, didn't interact, and then somehow we came out of it all pissed off at one another. And not knowing why. People don't know why anymore.
I know.
We don't know why.
I know.
And if you want to go and, hey, I enjoy history and look at Roman history, and we're doing and saying things and screwing with all kinds of different stuff, including language, that was part of that downfall. And we had better learn. Otherwise, this is exactly where we're going to go.
Right.
And I think it's quite ironic that you bring up the water supply if you think about Rome and what happened to them.
You bet.
A little bit of lead in that water, you think you're going to go nuts? Okay.
You bet. You bet. So this just kind of looking back, excuse me, this is not over. It's certainly not going away anytime soon. And now maybe there's something in the works, in the plans, I don't know, that the government's doing. I have no idea. But as that outsider looking in, I'm not seeing it. You're not seeing it. The majority of us aren't seeing it. And I just wish that we would just, even on our side of the fence, for those of us that work in this, I really do wish that people would just be more responsive to what we're saying.
Yeah.
Just, but we live in a society where just everything's about me.
Yeah.
And nobody's, it doesn't seem like anybody's thinking about anybody else. Yesterday it was just kind of cool. I'm just going to let everybody know, we went to San Joaquin Memorial High School, and we talked to a group of students over there that are taking us on as a nonprofit project. And they're going to raise money for us. And they had these T-shirts that said "Students support parents and addicts in need" with a QRC code.
Yeah, the logo, the Pain logo was a QR code. Yeah.
A QR code, right? And as I was speaking to these students, I got several text messages today, by the way. On thank you, my God, that was how important that is. And I believe it's our responsibility to let these high school students know, not smoke up their skirts, okay, but the truth about what we're facing, what we're in, and how it's going to affect them, because it is affecting them right now. And it will, and as they get older, they're going to know people that have overdosed or died of that poisoning, whatever the case may be. It's important for these students to understand, and I just give a big shout out to these students for taking this project on.
Yeah.
I just don't think there's enough people doing that.
Yeah.
So obviously we're not going to give up what we do, and we're going to keep doing this, and we're going to keep yelling and screaming about it. But we need the help.
Yeah. Engage
in this.
Yeah.
And and I'm not telling everybody this is, you got to change your career, okay?
No.
And you got to jump into the nonprofit world, or you got to jump into, but when we send things out, like if we're going to Sacramento and we need some support, and it just amazes me how many people don't go.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say it. We get, very few, if none, from this area.
Yeah.
We'll see a majority of people from the San Francisco area, or we'll see it from up north somewhere, but we hardly get any from here.
Yeah.
Besides the people that need to go, the district attorney and law enforcement and DEA and our Fort team and all that. Where I guess again, where's the outrage?
Yeah.
I'm looking at this map. This is almost a map that you would have on a table like this with generals all standing around it, because this is a war map.
Yeah.
And that's what this is. This is a war map. This map is telling us this is where we're being invaded.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at this thing going, holy Moses. Okay? When you're looking at California, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, and Florida, there's 3 states. There's Louisiana, Alabama, and I can't see what's the other one there?
Mississippi.
Mississippi,
and West Virginia.
Yeah. Oh no, South Carolina. If you think about it, there's only one state that fentanyl's barely being touched, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You got to consider New York. 7, 8 states out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Out of 15 that are fully engaged
Mm-hmm.
in the fentanyl epidemic.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's going to sit here and tell me we don't have a problem?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you look at a commonality too, there's a lot of border to these places, or they are a flood from a border place, you know.
Right.
From New Mexico to Colorado, or Florida to Georgia, up into North Carolina a bit, and Illinois. Obviously, you come in, you get stuff on the Great Lakes. Things flow into the Great Lakes.
Oh, absolutely.
You know? Obviously, New York and Massachusetts. I mean,
right.
Yeah. I mean, New Jersey. You know, all these things.
Maybe the drug dealers don't like the cold because they're obviously not going into Montana and Minnesota. But I mean,
Wisconsin a little less,
and Wisconsin's a little less. But you know, again, those are bordering Canada. I don't know. I mean, I just look at these states, our southern border, man, and it's just like this is scary stuff when you see it on paper like this.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I've got this picture in my head of the old World War II movies, right?
Yeah.
Where the generals are all standing around the table and they're they're moving right pieces all over the board for protection or where we have to go, and man, that's it right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and I don't know what the numbers are. I remember when we were talking with our friends in law enforcement and DEA a while back. Well, I think it was Bill Bodner, you know, that said, and Bill was he was
special agent in charge, DEA,
Western United States, which included Guam and Saipan and Hawaii and Alaska and all those places. There was only 5,000 DEA agents at that time. That were working the fentanyl epidemic.
Right.
You're not going to do anything with 5,000 agents.
No. And they're trying hard.
Yeah. You know, so I don't know if they've increased that or not, but I would certainly hope so.
We could only hope. But, you know, it continues to roll as you know, more seizures of guns. And, I mean, you know, seizures and arrests and up to $10 million in between the drugs and assets and everything else. It's
like what I told the students yesterday, you know, because they were also talking with another organization that has to do with trafficking, right? And one of the comments I made to them was, do you guys understand that whether it's adults or children that are being trafficked, that made sense, trafficked, how do you think they control these kids?
Yeah.
They control them with drugs.
Yeah.
They have to.
Yeah.
You know, so the drug issue is just not the addict on the street. In fact, I would venture to say that most crime is a result of drug use.
Hmm.
Well, think about it. Most car accidents are too.
Yeah.
You know, so the drug issue is still, I believe, the number one epidemic that we have.
Yeah.
So I know we keep doing these and we keep talking about it and we keep yelling about it. We just have to get more people involved.
Yeah.
But you know, it's interesting. As I listen to Paula, she's going through the same thing in Massachusetts with politicians. In fact, I was shocked, to tell you the truth, that Massachusetts doesn't have even a quarter of the awareness campaigns that we have here.
Yeah.
And I was shocked about that because remember in the Purdue Pharma days, that's where Purdue's based out of.
Right.
Up in that eastern seaboard there, that's where the OxyContin mess got started. And you would think that they would have learned from that one, especially when Purdue's in their own backyard. Obviously not.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sad.
I don't know.
It's absolutely sad. Anything else you want to add, Mr. Andersen?
I don't know. You know, we're going into summer.
Yeah.
School's ending. I know there's a lot of kids getting out of school today. Today's their last day. I sincerely hope, you know, look, summer's to have fun and to go out and to be a kid and to mess around and stay out a little late and, you know, go to a few parties and go on vacation, whether it's with your family or if you've just graduated from high school and you're going to go on your own somewhere. I really do. I hope and pray that that if these kids are still living at home and they're during the summer, that parents know where their kids are going, know who they're hanging out with. If they come home under the influence, at least talk to your kids about this. Talk to them beforehand. Remind them that drug use is simply just not safe anymore.
Yeah.
The experimentation piece is not safe anymore. I don't even know. I wish I knew what the numbers were. I don't think we'll ever find out those numbers of first-time use.
Yeah.
That somebody didn't make it.
Yeah.
You know. But I hope that these parents do that, because the last thing a parent wants to have happen to them is their kid not make it home one night.
Yeah.
And in today's world, the sad fact is that's a reality.
Yeah. Well, and especially like you said, a lot of these kids getting ready to graduate and go out and then explore those things. And if you know and see and understand that they've struggled with some things, maybe withdrawn or whatever it is, just to, you know, I know it's awkward. I'm a parent of teenagers. I know it is, and it can be really hard, but have those conversations anyways.
Have them anyway.
Yeah, there's a very kind and gracious way to be up in their business.
Right.
You know,
right.
Really is, you know, because it's confusing, and I can think back to those times. And granted, I was a late bloomer with any substance use, but boy, if I had, you know, if I hadn't had my father still in addiction at that time when I was graduating high school, I'm sure I would have been the guy that was being driven home from parties as opposed to the guy that sober drove people home from parties.
Sure.
Because I was definitely looking to avoid the feelings and thoughts and everything else that I was going through at that time.
Right.
You know, and it's a scary time, a scary transition into hey, your kid go, well, no, not so much anymore. I mean, it happens like that.
Happens like that.
So,
You bet.
Yeah. Mr. Andersen.
Well, thanks again, Jason.
Yes,
hopefully the message gets out, and we just keep spreading the word.
Absolutely. And thank you for listening to the podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Hit that subscribe button if it's your first time. And, of course, on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, leave a thumb up on the video, and leave a comment. And, hey, share that video out on social media. And we thank you very much. If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, please call PAIN, Parents and Addicts in Need, at 559-579-1551, or visit us online at painnonprofit.org. Follow us on social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Pain Nonprofit. And please subscribe to the Don't Hide the Scars podcast and share with others wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. And if you would like to donate to PAIN, Parents and Addicts in Need, please click the link in the description to make your tax-deductible donation today and help us save more lives gripped by addiction.